Hey.
I am back.
Oh, Hero already throwing out the alien head emoji. Oh. Alex is
Uh,
back.
I am back. Steve's got an alien background.
Mm-hmm. Let.
I've got a nice, cleanly shaven face.
Oh, you do.
Starting anew.
You do. Look at you all baby face over there. So.
Yes, sir.
So I want to go ahead.
Sir.
I want to go ahead and get this out of the way first. So I messaged Alex earlier this morning. I think he was still asleep, and I'm like, "So, what do you want to talk about tonight?" And a few hours goes by, and he pops up. He's like, "I think I want to talk about UFOs." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So this is his idea. So we're going.
So Steve got like so excited
about
that.
I did, and went and prepared all sorts of shit, and I got all sorts of slides and stuff.
And he's just been spending all day messaging me about, "Oh, you about to get beamed up, son?"
Yep.
You ready?
Yep. So, Addex, did you enjoy your vacation?
Oh my God, greatest vacation ever. I'm back. Well,
we weren't on last Monday because we had a last minute jaunt to the coast as well. And I'm the palest human being on the face of the planet. So literally I was sitting on the beach with a pair of jeans because I would have burned up quicker than a Bible in a satanic church. And my children got sunburned pretty good. They, but I guess that's a rite of passage. It was the first time they ever saw the ocean. So
I literally, wow, really?
Yeah, really.
Wow, and you took them to the Atlantic?
Oh, I mean, we went to Folly Beach, and then we went to Charleston, and right when the tropical depression formed off the coast. So we got video.
When we was on our way to Florida, we got because the tropical storm was coming in from Florida, mainly hitting Georgia the most, but still, bro, we literally got stopped by a tornado. Literally on the way there, and had to go take cover in a fucking Family Dollar, bro. That shit, was
that's a shitty way to go if you get taken out of the Family Dollar. Ooh, that'd have been bad,
dude. I was hiding in the back of the store. I was ready.
Wow. Well, we went downtown, the market, Charleston, and it was like a monsoon. I got this video of us in like an alley, and the wind's blowing sideways, and it's like a monsoon outside. And crazy. Irish Connection says, I get sunburned if I sit too close to the TV. Looking forward to this episode. Yeah, same here. I burn. I mean, there are pictures of me from a previous marriage on a jet ski in Cancun, Mexico, with blue jeans and a t-shirt on. No lie.
That's what I like to see, Steve.
No shame. I'd much rather have wet blue jeans than get scalded burned. So, all right. So, Alex, UFOs. So I prepared some things. We're not going to get into all this Roswell stuff and all the old stuff. We're going to keep it current and try to educate you on what's taking place. So I have a couple of videos. They're 30.
Well, I mean, when you literally have the U.S. of A. government come out and be like, yeah, they're real.
Yep. So
that kind of made a believer out of me.
Well, so
I was like, oh, well, I was wrong. All right.
Oh, yes. You self-tan before you go. Yes, Russell. Russell, you should be looking forward to this episode as well. So let's get started. So here's how all this really started in present day. In December of 2017, the New York Times published a front page article titled Glowing Auras and Black Money, the Pentagon's Mysterious UFO Program. Within this article, the story delved into a then secret program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, now widely referred to as ATIP. From Wikipedia, it describes ATIP as the following. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program was an unclassified but unpublicized investigatory effort funded by the United States government to study unidentified flying objects or unexplained aerial phenomenon. The program was first made public on December 16, 2017. The program began in 2007 with funding of $22 million over the 5 years until the available appropriations were ended in 2012. The program began in the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. So, a little side note there at the bottom, ATIP was actually initiated by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid at the urging of his friend Robert Bigelow, who owns Bigelow Aerospace. According to the Department of Defense, the ATIP ended in 2012 after 5 years. However, reporting suggested that the U.S. government programs to investigate UFOs continued. This was confirmed in June 2020 with the acknowledgement of a similar military program, the Unclassified but Previously Unreported Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. So, there's where all this really got started. I remember when this happened. Russell, I think you and I might have been working at Dollar Tree when that news broke, I think. But it was all over the news. This thing started with the New York Times and just kind of from 2017 up until current day, just kind of kept going. So, second slide, these are people you should know who are involved in all this mess. On the left, you've got Luis Elizondo. He was the director of ATIP. He was under the Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. He was U.S. Army Counterintelligence. To the right of him is Chris Mellon, who was Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. He was also Staff Director of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Then you have Commander David Fravor, who is predominantly known for the Tic Tac incident that you hear a lot of talk about, and then his co-pilot underneath, that's Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich. So these are the four biggest people that are involved in this. However, there has to be a shout out to the most unbelievable person who got all this started out. If you look over for Lou's known for in organizations, he worked for To the Stars, and To the Stars was actually started by the lead singer from Blink 182, Tom DeLonge. So yes,
How about that?
Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 was really the guy who got this going. So what happened when that article came out, there were two videos. I'm going to play both of them here. They're roughly 30 seconds apiece. Alex, you watch these because these actually come from the military aircraft. All right. These are, multi-million-dollar machines with very little margin of error. So the first one is known as the gimbal.
Dude, this is wrong, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Watch this thing.
Yeah.
In just a minute, it stops in midair and rotates.
That's not our LNS, though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
So, wow.
Nice.
Right?
Incredible.
And then the next one is known as Go Fast. And, this thing, size-wise, I'm assuming it's about the size of a regular aircraft. Take a look how fast this fucker is going.
Nickel 6-1 Tango Logic, over. Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger,
Is it just flying that close? Or is that like...
Are you box moving target? No, I took an auto train.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that.
What year is this, these two things? Do you know?
I believe they were like 2012, between 2012 and 2015, somewhere around there. So those got leaked as part of the New York Times expose, and those hit the television. And there was a third one called the Go Fast, which shows them actually have another craft on their instrumentation, and it shows this thing just take off to like left or right in like some ridiculous amount of speed, just gone. And so to get a little bit further, this is from Reuters. Watershed U.S. UFO report does not rule out extraterrestrial origin. So now we're into the point where the government has released their report that came out about a week or so ago. The U.S. government report on UFOs issued on Friday said defense and intelligence analysts lack sufficient data to determine the nature of mysterious flying objects observed by American military pilots, including whether they are advanced earthly technologies, atmospherics, or of an extraterrestrial origin. It was a 9-page report. It encompasses 144 observations, mostly from the U.S. Navy. The big takeaway here is they're playing this off as a threat. UAP clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. The report marked a turning point for the U.S. government after the military spent decades deflecting, debunking, and discrediting observations of unidentified flying objects and flying saucers dating back to the 40s. The report includes some UAP cases that previously came to light in the Pentagon's release of video from naval aviators, which I just showed. All but one of the listed sightings, an instance attributed to a large deflating balloon, remained unexplained. So it was 144 cases, and the greatest military on the face of the planet couldn't identify 143 of them. Let that sink in for just a minute.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah. So, and then CNN had an article, 8 takeaways from the government's big report. So we'll just go through the bullet points. Number 1, our analysis of the data supports the construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories: airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, USG or U.S. industry developmental programs, foreign adversary systems, and then a catch-all, other. So, okay, there are 5 basic categories for UFOs according to the report: random airborne stuff like birds, weather phenomenons, defense prototypes either from U.S. or foreign adversaries, and then the other bin. And yes, I and the rest of the world am most interested in the other bin. Point number 2, after carefully considering this information, focused on reports that involved UAP largely witnessed firsthand by military aviators and that were collected from systems we considered to be reliable. So yeah, witnessed firsthand by military aviators, which is rightly read to mean that these reports are A, serious, and B, credible. Number 3, there's no standardized reporting mechanism existed until the Navy established one in March 2019. The Air Force subsequently adopted that mechanism in November 2020, but it remains limited to USG reporting. Amazing. There was no formal way within the government to record UFO sightings until the Navy started one in 2019. And the Air Force didn't follow suit until roughly 6 months ago, which reveals A, how hesitant the government has been to acknowledging UFOs, and B, how many sightings were almost certainly missed. Point 4, 144 reports. Of these, 80 reports involved observation with multiple sensors. This line establishes the universe that the task force examined. There were incidents between 2004 and 2021, and more than half were confirmed by multiple sensors. Point 5, narratives from aviators in the operational community and analysts from the military and IC describe disparagement associated with observing UAP, reporting it, or attempting to discuss it with colleagues. Basically, this stuff right here is just talking about how still, to this day, you've got people that feel like they can't talk about it because there's this wacko stigma to it. And then the last one, 18 incidents. Described in 21 reports, observers reported unusual movement patterns or flight characteristics. Some UAP appear to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy associated with the sightings. It's a big deal. 18 incidents where UFOs appeared to remain stationary in the winds aloft, moving against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed. In plain English, that means that military personnel spotted unidentified aerial phenomena that appeared to be unaffected by wind, move in ways that can't be explained, and be propelled in ways that can't be explained, which is very, very interesting. So that's pretty much the gist of what's out there. And honestly, it's pretty mind-blowing. I think one of the biggest questions that's yet to be answered is why now? I've always subscribed to the belief that, in my lifetime, if they were ever to admit this, you have to be skeptical as to why. I've always believed that they would only ever tell us anything if something was coming that they could not cover up any longer. So who knows? Maybe Independence Day is real. I don't know. So Alex, give us.
Well, we kind of passed Independence Day.
Yeah, give us your take, Alex. Give us what you used to think and then what you think now.
Well, I mean, I used to be highly skeptical of unidentified flying objects because, I mean, it's like, is it really just some green creature of sight? Yes. And then just zooming through. They can't even make a flying saucer really fly effectively. However, if it's being admitted, it's like, yeah, no, that's real.
I think there's a lot of possibilities, and I think one of the big ones is if you just look at what we do as a civilization and our space program. We've got Voyager that's passed outside of our solar system. We've got probes on Mars. We've been to the moon. We've done all these things. It's not, all in the name of exploration and science. It's not to say that there's some advanced civilization out there that's not doing the same thing. And, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility because given how big the universe actually is. Iris brings up the big question. Let's say that extraterrestrial life exists for argument's sake. How does this change your presentation of life on Earth / human race, etc.?
I mean, it doesn't really change my outlook on it like at all, because if there is other life out there, I hope I get to be part of the generation that meets them. That'd actually be amazing.
Well, if you listen to a lot of the stuff that Elizondo has said, because he's been on about every news channel there is a segment of people in the military who believe they're demonic and evil. So from a religious standpoint, there is some people that believe that, nothing good can come from this. Me personally, it would not change my thoughts on anything. I think, they've used for many, many years that, religion would collapse and people would freak out. And, it's really just a simple, what is it? The passage in the Bible, God created the heavens and the earth. So if you're a devout Christian and you're, you believe the Bible, it basically tells you that, yeah, he created it all. So that can live within that paradigm. I think the people that, are diehard, religious fanatics or whatnot that would freak out, I think that comes from an arrogance of thinking that, we're it.
That you're the greatest thing and you're the only thing that exists.
Right. Hero says, if presented with intelligent life, alien life forms will Karen question her importance in the universe. Oh no.
Karen will go up and ask to speak to the aliens.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe, they'll get like photon zapped or something. But the interesting thing about all of this is whatever these things are, their interest in our nuclear weaponry. Because when you really dig into a lot of this stuff, there have been hundreds of cases of where these things have been over nuclear bases and have actually rendered all the weapons in the silos completely unusable and shut them off. We've got these things, we don't know what they are, all over the world, going to nuclear facilities and shutting shit down. And you just got a bunch of people standing around going, what the hell is that? And there's nothing you can do. And I guess that's where the threat thing comes into play. I personally believe, if they are extraterrestrial, if they're able to do the things they can do, they could wipe us out in a heartbeat with no problem. So I do not think they're hostile because we'd already been waxed. It would have already been done.
Or unless they're scared. Like maybe we're a little bit smarter than they are.
No, if they're coming from somewhere else, no, because there's just no way we're not, because, the physics of a bunch of this stuff it's just
unexplained.
Yeah, it's just stuff that we just, and we've got some black projects with millions of dollars black money getting spent that is cutting edge tech that, is amazing. And we've got people that work in those sectors scratching their head saying, there's no wings, there's no visible sign of propulsion. They're transmedium. There was footage that came out showing one that was flying around, dropped a great altitude right above the ocean, and then went into the ocean and took off. And, it's crazy. Like Russell says, it's been around for thousands of years. The Egyptians, Aztecs, Mayans all have pics of them in drawings. I agree with that.
I'm just saying the pyramids had to get there somehow.
I believe that, Alex, you're a Marvel person. So, did you see the preview for the Eternals?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they show up in a triangle aircraft and they kind of guide humanity. Sound familiar?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, there's all sorts of Renaissance paintings. There's all sorts of references to objects in the sky, going back to, like Russell said, for, millions of years. So the exciting thing for me about that is Hero and I had a conversation about this, and I brought up, well, if they're that advanced and they've been here that long, they've probably had like the ability to record video. Can you imagine if one day we find out that these are beings and they've been here since the beginning of time, and we get to see footage of like the pyramids being built or dinosaurs or all sorts of crazy shit, Yeah. And that would just be amazing. Irish Connection says 2 possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. I don't know if I consider it terrifying. I just feel like, we've got NASA, we've done all sorts of space exploration and whatnot. Do I believe they've been covering this up for decades? Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot more, out there than they're telling us. I think they're slowly, they're slowly feeding us this information that, eventually is going to come to a head. Are we going to get clear-cut pictures? I don't know. I mean, the pressure is on. Congress has been briefed. And, they're calling for public hearings on this now. So it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot that can come from this. And then just the technological ramifications of this alone, part of me still believes that a lot of truth doesn't get put out there out of greed, because if these things do what we perceive them to do, that energy source would completely eliminate fossil fuels.
Yeah.
I mean, that's free energy, period. I mean, and whoever gets that technology rules the world, period. And I just don't think some things will ever come to light because we're so dependent on fossil fuels and stock markets and all this other stuff that, the economy would collapse immediately. And which to me would probably be a good idea. That probably needs to happen and start over anyway. But, it's, I don't know. I just, we're a long way away, and I still wonder why they're doing it now. Somebody brought up, we're about to have space tourism. So you got Virgin Galactic, you've got Bezos and his Blue Origin. We're going to have tourists, in space, circling the globe. Maybe they're getting ahead of this now because guess what? They don't have control of the information anymore. What's to say somebody spends millions of dollars to go on one of these round trip, lower atmosphere space exhibitions or whatnot and see shit and takes pictures and brings it home. Maybe that's it. But one theory I came up with that I thought would be interesting would be, what if what we're seeing are AI from the future that developed time travel?
I have thought about that. Like, that used to be one of my theories on UFOs. I used to believe it was like time travel,
Mm-hmm.
because that would explain like the the weird movements and shit.
Yep. Well, I know Commander Fravor, when he described the Tic Tac that he saw, said looking down at it, the way it was moving is, the way he explained it was, take a ping pong ball and put it in a glass and shake the glass. That's how this thing, even though it was moving in a straight line, the object itself was moving like that. And, you know, and there's also the possibility too. I mean, we know more about space than we do our own ocean.
Yep.
I mean, what's to say there's not, you know, a coexisting species on this planet we don't know of? Maybe we got Atlantis all wrong.
Yeah, maybe Atlantis is just there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the most plausible, you know, things right now are obviously extraterrestrial, could be, you know, from the ocean, or they could be interdimensional, which you start getting into a whole bunch of quantum physics and stuff there. All of that, it was possible. You know, for years, there's been theories that when people see ghosts, that they're not really ghosts. They're, you know, beings from another dimension. And because they're on a different plane dimensionally, that's why they always look, they're floating.
Yep.
I mean, you know, it could be anything, but the reality is it's real. And I'm glad that, you know, within my lifetime, I get to start seeing evidence of it being real. And then there's been a rash of sightings. You know, the sightings are going up as people are looking more to the skies as this is promoted. And, you know, who knows what we're going to see. If you want something to look up later, Alex, that will really, really, it won't shake you up, but it's the most believable UFO story out there. It's a story about a school. I think it was in Zimbabwe.
Right.
And this craft showed up while all the teachers were inside with aliens and, were communicating with the kids, and they interviewed all these kids, and it's the most compelling thing because all these kids had the same story and they were young, and all their stories corroborated, you know.
Yeah. There is a lot of unexplained phenomenon.
Yeah.
People who are abductees having a mysterious chemical in their body.
Yes.
Like, that's
yes.
odd. Is it because of the chemical in their body that they can just hallucinate that they went up into space?
You know, alien abductions is a really interesting thing. You know, they've done tons of studies on that too. I mean, who's to say that that's, you know, true or false? You know, some people try to play it off as sleep paralysis and sleep terrors and things like that. But there, you know, there's people that, I don't know how much I really trust hypnosis and whatnot, but they hypnotize these people and get to, you know, unlock memories and whatnot. And all of a sudden they've been in like UFOs and shit like that. You know, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but cattle mutilations are really interesting. I mean, think about that. You know, you got these cattle that are surgically, you know, the incisions are like laser incisions. There's no blood anywhere and they're just hollowed out. Who the hell's doing that? You know, I mean, come on. And, you know, the South Park episode and like their very first season about the aliens is hilarious because, you know, the aliens come down and they think the cows are the smartest species on the planet. And the cows are like, well, then how come you slaughtered Harold? And one of the aliens like, oops, my bad, you know, kind of deal. But it's, Ira says, we have just scratched the surface of science. Just 100 years ago, we had no antibiotics and transatlantic communication was the height of technology. Agree. And, you know, I think one day, and I've said this, one day Einstein's theory of relativity is going to be proven false. And also, we're going to find out that the smartest man on the face of the planet ever was Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla had figured out how to, you know, gather electricity basically from the air. And he was well beyond his time. But Alex, I mean, what do you think they are, Alex?
What, just UFOs?
Yeah. What, you know, what do you lean toward?
Well, now that I know they exist, they've been proven to exist. I mean, it's got to be extraterrestrial, right? I mean, this is what I was actually going to ask you. I was thinking about this. It's kind of got to do with the topic, but kind of not.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in the grandfather paradox?
Actually, I'm not familiar with that. Or I may be familiar with it, being explained a different way, but go ahead. Let me hear it.
That's what it's called. But you go back in time and you kill your own grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, making you to where you never existed, and it's impossible to happen.
Got you.
Oh yeah, well, literally at the beginning of this episode, and the government themselves kind of come out and was like, "Yeah, they're real."
Yeah, Lo, if you look up the gimbal video and the go fast video, that'll pretty much show you all you need to see. When you see a U.S. Air Force pilot track something that stops in the middle of the air, thousands of feet up, stops and completely spins around. Yeah, that ain't nothing we got.
I personally don't believe in the grandfather paradox, because I believe if you could theoretically go back in time, that you could absolutely murder your own grandfather and still be alive. Like, because I think time works like a river. Once you go back to the point that your grandfather was, then you're like present, right? Like that's the present for you. So you exist there because you can't.
Well, yeah, you could go back and kill your grandfather, but there you would stay.
Yes.
You're existent in the future. The life that you had would be erased from existence, but you would become an entity in that time frame.
Yes. You would become an entity of like unknown origin.
Right. That I can agree with.
Because I do believe in multiverse theory, and I do believe in alternate realities and shit.
Well, I mean, just it's things at the simplest points. I mean, let's just look at gaming. I mean, you go from 2D to 2.5D to 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Dimensions are going to work the same way. So it'd be interesting to me from a religious standpoint. I think the thing that would really fuck religion up is if it was dimensional. A lot of people would have a really hard time wrapping their head around that one. Because even if they can prove it, with the science or whatnot, that's you're seeing something that's part of something else that's bled into the here and now, but you can't see the something else. It's like you can't see the dimension they're in. So it becomes all sorts of weird shit. And, but I mean, I think historically speaking, you look at, like, for instance, the Nazca lines. Are you familiar with those, Alex?
Sounds familiar. And like Schrodinger's cat, like I know what you're talking about, Hero, but like trying to think of what exact example that is.
If you don't exist to end your existing. Oh, but the Nazca lines, Alex, we discovered that flying, I may be misquoting this. I want to think it's South America or it's Mexico, but part to do with Aztecs, discovered many, many years ago as we were flying over from the air. There were these giant, huge glyphs of like bugs in like these different shapes that are like perfectly drawn. But I mean, imagine like if the earth was a canvas and somebody with a huge hand, like God traced something on the planet that you have to question, how the hell was anybody able to do that on land? That's something to look at. Aztecs, there's Peru. Thank you, Hero. Aztecs, there is the top of a sarcophagus that shows the person that had passed away in a spaceship. There's just so much out there pointing to, there's a lot out there that points to the Eternals may be real. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And, you've got the government secrecy has really, they did a really good job for decades of making people sound like loonies, talking about this shit. And it's a shame because, Stanton Friedman is somebody I've talked about before who was a researcher. He called the entire thing Cosmic Watergate, basically. And he passed away before all this stuff really, really hit. And it's a shame because, he would love, to see what's going on right now because it's mainstream and it is, in the face. You got people like you who were on the fence, but now you've got to really start to question, okay, our government's saying that this shit's flying around and it's not ours and it's not Russia and it's not China and it's doing crazy shit. So it's something.
It's got to be something. Yeah.
And,
for sure.
And so I read something too about, we got access to files from China and Russia where they've lost pilots who tried to engage these things. Now, and that's the thing, they're asking for more money for research to be able to identify them. But how are you going to identify them? The only way you're going to be able to identify one is if you catch it or you shoot it down, both of which bad things could come from, so it's just like, what do you do? Because these things are flying around with impunity. I mean, impunity. We've got pilots. I think they said there was like 11 or 12 near collisions with these things. You can't chase them. You as soon as you try to engage them, they take off and they're gone in the blink of an eye. The Fravor and Dietrich with the Tic Tac, their radar, their communications were jammed.
Yeah.
I mean, in wartime philosophy, that's an act of war. But here they are, they don't know what this thing is and they can't do anything to it. Their shit's getting jammed and it's just doing whatever it wants. It's like, haha, motherfucker. And what were they chased with? What do you mean, Lo? Oh, how fast was the jet? They were Hornets, I believe. And this thing, if you look up the Tic Tac incident and you look up how fast this thing was moving, it went from like 50,000 feet to like almost ocean level in less than a second. And then when they engaged this thing and tried to get a lock on it, this thing kind of, as the plane was coming down, the Tic Tac came up and then all of a sudden, poof, was gone and then picked up on radar at their cap point, like miles away. It moved that fast. It looked like it disappeared, but it didn't. It just moved that fast and was gone to the next place. You can't catch them. We don't have anything. The speeds that these things are moving at would squash a human being. If a human being was in one of these things, it'd be jello and liquid in that thing once it stopped. Because the amount of G's, I mean, we don't have anything that can go that fast. We don't have anything that can go that fast that's unmanned that wouldn't just disintegrate.
Unless that thing isn't moving and things are moving around it.
That's a very good point. That is something that's been brought up. If these things have figured out how to use gravity, basically they're in like a little bubble. They're moving with impunity. They're bending space-time. Everything's moving around them, and they're just kind of like going wherever.
And that could be why it's also looks insane to us.
Yeah, and evidently the sightings are still going on off in the Atlantic. And
exactly, Lo.
some of the things they've described, one of the things they described is a sphere with a cube in it. That's Element 115, Bob Lazar. That's another name that has a lot of stigma. I'm on the fence with him. I want to believe him, and I think there's some truth to some of what he says, but there's just no way to prove it. I mean, if it comes out that it's all true, then he's proof the government can make somebody disappear. So, I mean, and there's a lot of things he described that are now starting to come to pass with these reports. I mean, like they say, you know, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and that's the point that we're heading. I'm more interested in the technology. I mean, if like Alex says, you know, what he described, you know, being able to like ripple time and space, man, that's huge. The amount of energy that it would take to do that, though, in a vehicle that's small, there again, you look at the energy source, that is some mind-breaking tech.
But the thing is it may be just as simple to whoever created it is just like a computer is.
It very well could be. And
that's why they could theoretically be anywhere in the universe at any given time, space, literally Logan, the space stone.
Wormholes.
That's something else I believe in too.
I mean, we're in the grand scheme of things, we're still a baby. You know, we're a very infantile society in the grand scheme of things, and as far as the age of the universe. And sure, we're going to, you know, discover some cool things, but you know, something that really is disturbing to me is, okay, we've got all this going on, and it's been going on since the 40s that we know of. I mean, you know, you had Foo Fighters and all sorts of stuff been seen. I mean, for decades, you know, back when our great grandparents were alive, World War I, you know, stuff like that. But we've got SETI, you know, looking for alien life. We got NASA saying they don't study it. Why are we wasting all this money on these things, like to search for extraterrestrial intelligence? You know, they looking for radio signals, but we got this shit flying around that, you know, very high likelihood could be from another solar system or whatnot. Why are we spending money on radio frequencies when we obviously got visitors here? You know, where's the disconnect there? I mean, you know, it's just, it's crazy. And then, you know, and I believe Roswell was real. I think, you know, that's
actually what I was about to ask you.
Yeah. There's too much with Roswell. And there was actually supposedly a crash like a day before. And, in Corona, Mexico, I believe. And, but I do believe that we've got gear. I think we've recovered something. Bob Lazar likes to say that, you know, we've recovered stuff from archaeological digs. Whether that be true or not, you start getting into some Stargate bullshit there. Which that'd be cool. You familiar with Stargate, Alex?
A little bit.
See, that basically it was this big wooden gate that had like this, I mean, not wooden, big stone gate that had these glyphs. And then when you put the glyphs in a certain form or whatnot, it basically opened a portal to go to like a different, and so, I mean, who knows? Maybe that shit's real. I mean, our government's dabbled in all sorts of stuff.
Sky is referencing.
Yeah. Our government's dabbled in, you know, remote viewing, you know, they've done a lot, you know, and don't think for a minute that our government don't have some scary shit of their own. You know, I'm sure it does, but you know, what we're dealing with here, I mean, this is life changing. I mean, it's, I still think we got about a 10-year window before we know enough to be able to say, you know, conclusively what it is, because they're going to drag their feet on this unless they know that there's like a slew of them coming and they just can't hide it. And that very well could be the case. But it's also interesting to know that they shut down nuclear weapons, so maybe they're just kind of watching to make sure we don't blow our asses up. You know.
Yeah, that would be quite unfortunate, but yep.
I mean,
like hydrogen bombs are bad, and we still have worse.
I mean,
drop the nuke.
Didn't you say your parents were talking about this too before when all this news hit?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, my dad got so excited.
What he think?
My dad has been also trying to convince me, like, telling you, son, UFOs. My dad.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I've never, ever faltered in my belief that it was real. Ever. Since a little boy. It just, you know, from a common sense standpoint, if the universe is infinite, there should be infinite forms of life. You know, you just look at the Fermi paradox. I think you have to be very narrow-minded to think that we would be the only intelligent life in the universe as big as it is. I mean, we might be, but I doubt it. And I think what's going on now is proving that we're not.
I never thought that we was alone in the universe. I just always thought that the universe was so big that the chances of something coming across us was just so slim to none.
Russell, I was the one who told you that. Compact discs, when they came out, they were naval technology from the 60s. So think about when we finally got compact discs. CDs. They were using that shit back in the early 60s. So it shows you how advanced, our government is. Now, also, too, I mean, there's some conspiracy theory behind this as well, because Wernher von Braun always said that when the governments of the world ran out of threats to keep their civilizations, under check, that the last one that they would use would be the alien threat. And here we are. I highly encourage anybody to look up Dr. Carol Rosen, and look at what she worked for Wernher von Braun. And if you don't know who Wernher von Braun was, he was the guy who created rockets for Germany. Brilliant physicist. When World War II was over, most of the high-ranking scientists for immunity for Nazi crimes became employees of our government. Did you know that, Alex?
Yeah. I know a lot about that because my mother watches nothing but the Holocaust every day, all day.
But these were brilliant scientific minds. And the other part of that is, one thing that a lot of people kind of skirt over is, Hitler and Nazi Germany were really studying the occult, from a power standpoint, part of the D-Glock. Yep. Russell, I know there's a lot of speculation about them having UFOs. I do believe in the acorn or the bell, but there's a bunch of fabricated pictures out there showing like these UFOs with Nazi insignias on them. I don't think that shit ever fucking existed. It may have as a prop or something like that, but I don't think they ever got off the ground. So, but the bad part is, and another thing that you'll hear a lot of complaints about, Alex, is, we live in a time where everybody's got a camera on them. How come we got only shitty footage?
Yeah.
And
it's maybe because only like that shitty black and white footage can capture it.
Well, there was somebody who kind of argued that point, who was a professional photographer, and showing what kind of gear he had to use to get like really clear pictures of aircraft. You just can't get it with cell phones. You cannot, a lot of what you see is blurry and whatnot because cell phones aren't made for that. Iris says, I think the cutting edge of technology today is in the hands of companies rather than militaries. Unlike the 40s, this means that evidence of things like ET life will not be as easy to cover up. Well, here's the thing. You're right there. But the problem with us is the United States government and, the Defense Department and stuff like that. All our stuff's built by outside contractors and has been for decades. They get millions and millions of dollars worth of funding, ironclad contracts, and nothing leaks out of that shit. DARPA alone. I mean, our military industrial complex, I will give them this. They believe in that loose lip sink ships bullshit because they ain't hardly shit leak out. I mean, it just doesn't. Last time I saw a leak, it came through a G.I. Joe toy catalog. And that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'll never forget seeing a G.I. Joe like toy ad, and they had a picture of this plane. And I'm like, it was like a triangle. I'm like, what is that? That's kind of cool looking. Yeah, nobody had ever seen our stealth bombers, period. They hadn't even announced them. But somehow G.I. Joe had it. Then like 3 years later, oh look, here's our stealth. And I'm like, I saw that in the G.I. Joe toys.
Yeah, that shit's wild, bro.
It is. I mean, but Alex, welcome to the club. You know, I don't sit around.
Yeah, I'm sort of here now, but I've always been fascinated in science fiction, though, like time travel, space,
I think time travel.
wormholes, black
I
holes.
think time travel is a very possible thing. The most curious thing would be if it is AI and AI developed it. Does that mean that humanity is done for in the future and the AI is running the show and they're just coming back to see where we fucked up? Doctor Who, a hero, loves Doctor Who. I mean, but you think about Doctor Who, you think about the TARDIS, and you think about how it travels. Hey, like I said, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. I mean, do you want to see one, Alex?
What?
I mean, do you actually want to see a UFO?
I would, dude. If I were to ever be outside and see one, I'd probably just shit right there.
Really? I mean, would you be scared, or would you be like, oh wow?
I'd just be just like praying. I'd just like, well, all right,
You know,
they're after me. Here it is.
you know.
Hope I survive.
I've always said that I will refuse to die and leave this planet, this earthly realm, until I see one. So I'm banking on that. For me, I think it would be a combination of oh shit fear and hot damn. I don't know if it'd be a pleasant mix, but I would just freeze and just be like, wow. I mean, I could have a camera on me and I'd probably be in so gobsmacked that I wouldn't even think to get the camera. Yeah. You know,
that's probably what happens to most people.
I mean, I think that would be, and for people who claim that they've seen them, it's evidently a very life-changing experience, because you could speculate all you want. When you see something that you know it isn't anything from here, you know, evidently it really kind of fucks you up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God. Hey, you never know, though. When you start talking about this stuff like time travel and quantum physics and bending of space-time, there's no telling how much stuff we've, watched science fiction wise, be it Terminator or whatnot, they could be 100% real. I do know that when the movie Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind came out, that Ronald Reagan had told Steven Spielberg he didn't realize, he had no idea how close he really was to telling the truth. That's pretty big talk right there. And think about this too. Wow. You've got presidents now. You got Obama talking about, yeah, we've got video of this stuff. We don't know what it is. You got Clinton saying the same thing. You've got presidents now confirming this shit. So it's a huge advance and celebration for people who've researched the topic for years. And, a hero will tell you. I mean, when the headline came out, Alex, I sent you the screenshot, U.S. government says they're real. And I'm like, I had my hands up in here like, yes, like I won something. I didn't win shit. But it was just like, it was just like this victory because, like talking with you, Alex, or, other friends or whatnot who just refuse to believe, you just know that in your gut that it's real. And now there's some validation. It's like, hot damn, yeah, I wasn't crazy, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I feel like the only way we're going to ever know what they are is to shoot one down, publicly acknowledge that we have it, or they're going to have to land on the, the front lawn of the White House. I don't think there's any other way.
Or they're going to have to just come down and just be like, ready to meet with your world leader. Like,
but then again, we our society's so screwed up. Can you really blame them if they don't want to talk to us? I mean,
it could be, but you never know. It could be just scared because they could be like, "Oh shit, what are they gonna do? Like if we land and talk to them, they're gonna like try to dissect us. Like, because what if they have like the same theories, right? Like, will they like abduct us?"
Hero asked both of you, if you had the choice to go with, would you? Ooh. I gotta be careful how I answer this question. What about you, Alex?
Me, I'm gone.
You're going?
I'm going.
If I thought I could negotiate and I thought I could trust that they would bring me back, like, and they could just take me like on a quick cruise around the block, I'd probably be like, yeah, let's fucking go. I could be back, you know, I got to be back in time for the Misfit Lounge. I could be back by 8 p.m. to stream, you know.
I know if they told me like, hey, look, like, you had a tough life, Alex. We can take you back in time. You can fix it, but this is your one do-over. I'm gone. I'm going.
You know, I don't know if I'd go back in time. I don't know if I'd do that. I would only want to go back in time to see like cool stuff, but you know, not change anything. But you know, I would. But then you get into the whole theory of relativity or whatnot, like the movie Interstellar, where you know McConaughey and his team goes to that planet and they come back and his daughter is like elderly and dying, and you know it's just. You know, you don't know how all that shit works. It's just like, okay, you know, if you could take me around the block real quick and I'm not going to come back and everybody's dead, you know, everybody's, you know, it looks like I've only been gone like 15 minutes. All right, let's roll. Let me grab my cigarettes and we're good. You know?
Well, I mean, the thing is theoretically, if the world is moving around them because of like space-time continuum shit, right? Then time dilation wouldn't happen. So theoretically, they could be like, hey, we're about to take you somewhere. All right. And you go, and then just no time moved at all.
Lowe brings up a good point. Technically, you'd abandon everyone you love if you went back in time and had a redo. Could you do that, Alex? Oh, Lowe got you on that one. You know, I mean, like I said, I would definitely, but here's the thing. You couldn't trust them anyway. I mean, you don't know. I mean, they'd be like, yeah, sure, come on. We'll bring you back in 15 minutes. And they put you in like some slave labor camp and, you know, like Neptune or some shit and you're fucked, you know? So, I mean, you don't know. I mean, but, you know, part of me would want to go. I mean, I'd be like, you know, I'd have to have like some sort of, okay, you leave one of your people here. You know, and we'll have a gun to their head. If you don't bring me back, they're toast, you know, kind of thing. But you know, I'd love to. I mean, it would, I'd probably vomit everywhere. You know, I'd be like throwing up and terrified. And
I mean, that's the thing though. In your perspective, you'd be perfectly still. Like you wouldn't even feel motion. You just see,
yeah,
you just be like you watching a video.
Iris says, I couldn't resist. I'd have to go for the ride, but I'd be afraid I'd end up working in an ET film mart with all the other abductees. Yeah, God. Well, who knows? Maybe retail on another planet's more civilized than it is here. Instead of Karens, you got burps or whatnot. But Russell says, but people trust Uber. That's a good point. That's a good point. You probably trust an alien just about as much as you could trust Uber. So, but yeah, I mean, that, you know, man, that'd be hard. I mean, but can you imagine where, you know, they take you, or, you know, if they were friendly and, you know, it was like, you know, kind of an extension of, you know, diplomacy or whatnot. Hey, let us show you where and you go to some beautiful world, no pollution, and everybody lives like millions of years or whatnot. I mean, it would be amazing, but, you know, it'd be rough. I mean, I'd want to go, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to go. I mean, that's a hard place to be, you know?
Oh yeah. I think I'm going.
Well, just make sure you text me before you go. I'll be like, okay, Alex is not on the Misfit Lounge. He's been abducted by choice. they're putting a big metal hoobajoo, you know, he's getting anal probed. But you know, it's, man, that'd be a hard decision, but can you know, a lot of us on here, I mean, we're kind of techie. We like techie stuff. Man, can you imagine being in one of those things? And I bet you it's just like the TARDIS. It's like it's a whole bunch bigger than it looks like on the outside when you go in. It's probably some crazy shit. And, you know, but I would just want to see, you know, archival footage. I would love to see that they've got actual, you know, footage from basically the beginning of time. I mean, can you imagine if we come across a species that has like video footage of the planet forming? I mean,
my God.
or they have footage of dinosaurs, and we realize that all of our scientists got it completely wrong how dinosaurs really looked. Like, I mean, can you imagine that? Like they're all like neon colors or some shit, and and crazy. But then you got like whole thing. What do these things look like? There was an Australian report that, because there's a bunch of UFO reports coming out now, that people are digging through them. The Australian one talks about how some beings were witnessed that had the face of cats. That would be fucking awesome. Cat people. That'd be awesome. I love cats.
I want bird people.
Bird people would be kind of scary, man.
Dude, have you ever seen the Chozo in Metroid?
Probably.
Definitely have if you played it.
Hero says a TARDIS shows up and I'm off, but ET shows up and I'm not going to be in some alien zoo. But yeah, I mean, cat people, you know, the grays with the big eyes seem to be the one that everybody quote unquote sees. So, you know, what movie didn't sell well? Or is that a metaphor? So, but what would you want them to look like, Alex? Oh, cats.
Bird people.
Bird people. What about you guys out there? Do you want them to look like the big gray, black-eyed thing, or do you want them to look like you know, the Nordics, or you know, you want them to look like they're Scandinavian? You know, extremely pale, blonde hair, blue eyes. Dude wants a cat girl. Yeah, man. My wife would make a great cat. Like, imagine if it was like on American Dad.
So awkward.
Yeah, it did. But no, I mean, it would be. Hero's like, but
yeah, you're getting slapped.
Yeah,
Steve.
I'm probably getting punished. Iris says, in theory, in a parallel universe, there is a Misfits lounge streaming right now, millions of light years away, talking about a strange life in a place like Earth. Probably so, and it's probably a lot fucking cooler. You know, the thing for me would be
hey,
music.
On a complete side note, Steve.
Yes.
I just want to point out Retail Warzone Season 2. That shit looked dope as shit.
Thank you. Like I said, Back in Black. You know, we got some momentum. You know, we'll see what happens. Wednesday we've got Mad Dog as the co-host. We're gonna be talking about like the different politics and policies that kind of hurt businesses, about what you can and can't sell, and the policies put in place that, you know, dictate insurance and making sure that employees go broke. So those kind of things. Oh boy. So it'll be good. But
yeah, so if y'all are ready for an unfiltered retail,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Mad Dog being it. Last week was really good with Irish. Got quite a, you know, good bit of views on the tube, good bit of listens on the podcast. So that was cool. I thought that was great. You know, a lot of cool things coming.
Tonight's episode was pretty fun too.
Do what?
Oh, tonight's episode
was pretty fun too. So, you know, we got to do some stuff, you know, in Misfit Lounge too, and get some other people on here as well, so we can talk about crazy stuff. You know, Lo, you want to be?
Let's talk about some weird shit.
Lo, you want to be on? You can be on. That's fine. You just have to.
Oh shit!
You just need to behave yourself. Yeah, and then we got to make sure we don't say bad things. We got Russell on here. Whoever wants to come on this thing. This isn't anonymous though. We got to have cameras, so you know, anonymous is for the war zone. But all right, so we're sitting at hour 4. This has been good. It's been fun. How's everybody like the new look for Misfit Lounge? Changed the background a little bit. Got us some of that synthwave look.
Oh yeah, no, I like it.
Addex, you got to hurry up and get you an Oculus Quest, bro.
That's the play.
Well, here's the thing. I got Doom 3. There was some guy who ported Doom 3 into it, so it's standalone. You don't have to hook it up to a PC. It is awesome. That video I sent you the other day from that arcade game or whatnot, that shit is dope. it's kind of like playing like on our background screen. It looks amazing. So you got to get you one of those, bro, because there is online multiplayer too, by the way. They have first-person shooters. There's one called Pavlov, which I think is actually a PC game too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But you could actually play it in VR. There's a ton of like first-person shooter multiplayer games. Send me into Doom. Dude, let me tell you something. Doom 3 looks awesome. It is amazing, and there's a mod to fix to really sharpen up the textures, and for it being standalone and not having to be tethered to a PC. Dude, it is awesome. And that game got a kind of a bad rap, but I always loved that game. But yeah, I've got that and Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which is extremely cool too. I mean, it's an older game, but man, that thing is worth the money. I mean, it's worth it for the immersion. And then if you're a musician, there's an Elton John VR video that he did for his Goodbye Yellow Brick Road farewell tour that is pretty jaw-dropping awesome. It's pretty amazing. And it ends up with him performing, and it looks like you're like sitting right across the piano from him. It's weird. So you gotta get one of those, Alex. It's worth it.
Sir.
Oh, they were out last Saturday, Russell? Did you go to the Walmart? Do not get the one with the more memory. It's not worth it. I got a ton of games on mine, and the storage is not even halfway, and it's $100 jump in price. So make sure you get the $299 one. It's not worth it to get the other one. So good stuff. All right. So this has been fun. Thank you everybody for watching. Wednesday night, Mad Dog will be here, just tearing stuff up. Go get the shirts. The shirts are awesome. I've got here at the house, I finally got the Dear Customer shirt came. It looks great. It was kind of weird because Hero looked at it and she's like, the logo's off center. And I had a message up, and I was getting ready to message Teespring saying, hey, it was kind of weird. And then I put it on and I'm like, it's not really off center. So it looks fine. But yeah, they're cool shirts, and I don't make a lot of money on them. There's like a buck profit in them because I'm not going to sell them just for cost, because that's kind of stupid. I don't think Teespring will even do that, but they're meant to get the word out. So it's kind of what we're doing. But everybody have a good night. Alex, you got anything you want to say real quick? You haven't been streaming or anything, man. You ain't got nothing to pimp.
Well, that's just because I've been on vacation, been trying to literally like I've been putting in a lot of applications.
Yeah.
Ready to get back into the retail field.
Well, here's one for you, Alex. I actually put an application for Restream.
Oh, nice.
Yep. They have an online customer service thing, so chat only. So I applied for that, and then I also applied for an online. The wife doesn't know this yet. I applied today for an online customer service job for Sam Ash, which is a music store.
I've applied for a couple different things, but
yeah, it is what it is.
We'll see. But yeah, nah. Me and Lowe's been joking around that I'm gonna do a stream in 10 years, decade stream.
Decade stream.
But
yeah,
it's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah, Lowe, I always get notifications you're streaming. I ain't got nothing from Al. He made a video. He ain't streamed. He ain't done nothing. He all like I said, I'm a content creator. When's the last time you created content, boy?
I've actually been creating content for other people now. I actually been editing for others as well.
Oh, Lord. Lord.
Yes.
All right. You need to hurry up and get you a green screen.
It's got to hang it up.
Yeah, hang it up, because all you need is a green screen, and you send me your background, and I can do it on this end.
Oh, damn me.
Yep. All right, cool. All right, everybody. We will see you Wednesday night. Alex, you going to be there modding the chat?
Sir.
All right. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you Wednesday. Peace out.